Good evening. I'm Leanne Gerari. Welcome to Business PNG, your weekly look at business news and updates. A public-private partnership, or PPP, is a government service or private business venture which is funded and operated through a partnership of government and one or more companies. PPP involves a contract between an authority and a private party, in which the private party provides a public service and assumes substantial financial, technical, and operational risk in the project. Minister for Public Enterprises and State Investment, Ben Micah, gives us an insight as to why this move is so important to the governments.
What was the message at the summit you really wanted to get across to the people in the room?
Firstly, that Papua New Guinea is relatively a newly independent country, and Papua New Guinea is struggling to come to terms with its development agenda, and Papua New Guinea is moving towards a future that needs the collaboration of the private sector, multilateral agencies, and friendly countries that have been working closely with us. I think this is really where I started the discussions on the history and also the roles that I've been playing in the areas of state-owned enterprises and state investment.
You went back quite a long way.
Yes.
It's not a new story.
Thank you.
Is the government determined to reform these SOEs?
The government is very determined. I think you received from the Prime Minister's speech yesterday what he wants the direction to go, and it is where we are going.
Does it worry you that some of those SOEs would be stinging after what the Prime Minister said yesterday? He was very strong.
I learned a lot of experience during the privatization of PNG-BC, or the Papua New Guinea Banking Corporation, and the amalgamation with BSP. And we had big protests and strikes, and I think we've learned a lot of valuable lessons in what to do and what not to do, and how to go about the exercise.
So Minister, what do you say to the people who are anti a privatization or a partial privatization? What do you say to them? How do you explain that there are benefits in such a process? How do you explain it to the people of Papua New Guinea who say, I don't want to lose my airline, I don't want to lose my PNG power, I don't want to lose my telecom? What do you say to them?
Yes, I'd like to say, that a lot of these organizations were set up as statutory bodies under Acts of Parliament purely to provide services, port services, power, water and sanitation, and telecommunications. And also, companies like Motor Vehicle Insurance Limited were set up to do third-party insurance. And other investments that the government went into were really driven by the private sector, oil palm, forestry, and the mining sector and oil and gas. But mostly these state-owned enterprises that we know them today as Air Niugini and Telecom, PNG Power, PNG Ports Corporation, Edaranu and Water PNG. From being statutory authorities, they became state companies incorporated under the Act of Companies Act, and they have now boards and management teams. They are now required by the Companies Act to provide audits. So they are now operating as companies. Now, the focus of these companies is still service-oriented, Now, this service is not free service provided by the government. It is paid for by ratepayers in terms of water and power. It is paid for by consumers in the area of, telecommunication and, the handling of cargo at the ports. So consumers are paying. And those consumers demand that they receive those services on a timely basis, low cost, and in an efficient manner. And I say that if we are just sitting there and protecting the ownership of government, and these organizations are not delivering, then I think it is an injustice.
Yeah.
It is an unfair situation for those people who are paying for these services and
Is it
demand.
fair to say it's a different world for these SOEs now? There's a greater
Yes.
demand.
Yeah, that's
people
right.
want the
That's right.
service. Huh?
That is correct. And then the population has increased.
Yes.
The scope of delivery has also become sophisticated.
Yeah.
So, where government do not have the capacity in terms of manpower, government does not have the capacity in terms of finances to step up and finance where we need to upgrade a system or we need to bring in new technology. That is where the private sector comes in.
But government can work with our donors, etc., to facilitate improvements in these
The
areas.
government continues to be the legislator,
yes,
sets up the legislation, and then also focuses on the regulation that ensures that there is fairness in pricing.
Yep, of course.
Quality of service is still maintained, and that unfair competition doesn't result in two companies, over fighting over the market and collapsing.
It's a win-win situation. Your private sector guy's got to make his reasonable profit. He's still got to deliver a service.
Correct.
And, so I noticed, and congratulations to the government again. I mean, the passing of the PPP legislation.
Yes.
And Prime Minister and yourself received high praise from Asian Development Bank.
Yes.
That's been a while coming, and great to see it on the agenda and passed.
Yes.
Is that one of the ways you're going to look to finance some of this development of your SOEs or your privatization?
This is the only way forward.
Okay.
We cannot continue to put our hand into the public coffers to prop up non-performing, inefficient operating state-owned companies. This is where we need, like I said earlier, private sector money. We need private sector skills and expertise, technology to improve the provision of these services. And then the people who are at the receiving end will be happy that this partnership between private sector and government is delivering to them.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say the announcements about Air Niugini are like first cab off the rank, or first plane off the rank, I guess? There's been talk about divesting an interest in PNG and Air Niugini. Yeah.
In fact, the Air Niugini announcement is still to be approved by Cabinet. Upon Prime Minister's instructions, we need to put it on the front rank. I made those announcements. The first announcement is for PNG Power.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Cabinet has already made a decision to,
so what's on offer there?
Privatize 50%.
Okay.
50% of the power, but we will go through the process of scoping and looking at how it's going to be done, and then we can report back to Cabinet.
So a PPP centre would, it's still got to be formulated, I guess, but if it was ready, that would look at these processes.
The centre would look at coordinating the process.
Yeah. So we get
together with IPBC and my department, we will work together to coordinate this divestment strategy.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, David.
You've been watching some of the proceedings of PNG Advantage Business Investment and Infrastructure Summit 2014, and in the studio I've had Minister Ben Micah, Minister for Public Enterprise, speaking about his contribution to the summit and his vision for the SOEs and his vision for Papua New Guinea. That's it from Business PNG.
After the break, we speak to the CEO of Air Niugini Limited, Simon Fu. Don't go anywhere. Legislation introduced into Parliament late last month provides the framework for private-public partnerships in delivering major infrastructure projects. The O'Neill Dion government recently announced that Air Niugini would become the first state-owned enterprise to be privatized following said P3 legislation. CEO for Air Niugini Limited, Simon Fu, enlightens us on what this means for Air Niugini. Tonight on the show we have Mr. Simon Fu, the CEO of Air Niugini Limited. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Leanne.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. So first things first, sir, there's the tour fares that have come out recently. Can you tell us a little bit about this, because a lot of people are excited about it?
Thank you. Yeah, the tour affair, Air Niugini is a major sponsor of the Pacific Games. We carry the Pacific Games logo on our aeroplanes, and we're a major player in the promotion of the Pacific Games. And we've used the tour affair to launch the 50% discounted fares, which will be available between now and the Games time. We've allocated 50,000 seats to be sold to the public in between now and the time when the Games are on. And at one point when the demand picks up, we may offer more seats.
Okay, so I understand not all seats are tour fares, in each flight.
That's correct. Okay. There's a mixture of seats because in marketing you have to have full fares, discounted fares, and other fares. And there's a selection of seats sold on aeroplanes, but not necessarily on every flight.
Okay, so this is more of a marketing strategy.
That's correct.
Okay, sure. So Air Niugini is currently facing quite a few challenges, what with job cuts recently. Why is that, and can you tell us a little bit about these challenges?
Okay, I think in any business there's cycles. There's high cycles and low cycles.
Sure.
With the construction phase of the LNG construction completed, we are experiencing that the numbers of people flying have slowed down a bit. But when you look at Air Niugini in the context of 10 years, we've experienced a good profitability in the last 10 years. In this next 2 years, with the stabilization of the business traffic, we ourselves have to look internally and to see where we can become more efficient.
Okay, all right. The government is talking about selling 49% of Air Niugini. Firstly, would you have any inkling as to who is going to buy that 49%?
Okay, thanks for that question. It's a very, very topical subject at the moment because the Prime Minister and the Minister for State-Owned Enterprises have made that announcement. But let me take you back to where Air Niugini started. We were born before Papua New Guinea was born. We were born on the 1st of November 1973, and Papua New Guinea became a nation in 1975. So we come from some very strong roots. We actually operated under the National Airlines Commission Act, and we were like a government department. But in the 1990s, a government decided at the time that eventually Air Niugini will become privatized. And we went through a phase of corporatization, and we actually operate under the company law now. Now this government has made a significant announcement to say that Air Niugini will be privatized, but it will be privatized only for Papua New Guinean citizens and Papua New Guinean companies. And we need to take the process, a very slow and steady process between all the stakeholders to make sure all the dots are crossed and that we make all the right decisions in consultation, in full consultation with all the stakeholders.
Okay. So as the CEO of Air Niugini Limited, what are your thoughts on the government's public-private partnership plans?
The board of Air Niugini has directed that we move towards privatization, and I think it's a very positive step.
Sure. Okay. Critics are saying that any move to privatize or even partially privatize SOEs would mean an increase in price. Is that correct?
Oh, not necessarily, because we will need to be more efficient in our cost production and the production of our service. So we need to look hard at how we operate, because after 40 years of operation, in some areas we've had to accumulate legacy practices, and we need to look forward to address these issues to make us become more efficient. I'm happy to say that our average age for our workforce is 36. And we've got some very young staff coming through, and we just need to address the issues that we've accumulated over the last 40 years.
Okay, all right. So how does putting 49% of Air Niugini affect Air Niugini's future expansion plans? Because I understand Ben Micah said it's financially, economically viable for Air Niugini. What do you think about this?
Air Niugini has been valued. We are moving to the next stage of investment. For instance, I mentioned the engineering facility earlier on. That's a facility that we need to have so that we can stop sending aeroplanes overseas to be serviced and build up our own capacity in-house. And we can use the finance to look at our fleeting requirements, whether it's for the international sector or for the domestic fleet. Okay,
all right. So do you have any other thoughts or that you want to share with the public?
Oh, I just want to assure the public that the government has as the shareholder of Air Niugini, has directed that we be privatized, and the board has directed the executive team to work closely with that directive, but to make sure that it's done in full consultation with all the stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Foo, for your time.
Thank you, Leanne.
And that was Mr. Simon Foo, the CEO of Air Niugini Limited. Coming up on the show, we speak to Prime Minister O'Neill as he deliberates on his government's P3 plans. Stay with us. As the country's infrastructure needs soar and traditional funding for roads, schools, hospitals and other projects wears thin, the government is looking for avenues in which some of these costs can be alleviated. The Public-Private Partnership Policy 2014 is one of these avenues. The partial privatization of Air Niugini will be the first in a series of privatizations. Removing government ownership will reduce waste, inefficiencies and corruption, according to Prime Minister Peter O'Neill.
Good night everybody and welcome to Business PNG. We're joined here by Prime Minister Mr. Peter O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill, in the Business Advantage Summit of Infrastructure and Investment, what do you hope we can take away from this summit?
What we are trying to encourage and through the summit itself, but firstly let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Business Advantage International for hosting this summit, where it gives us an opportunity as government to let the country and of course all our investors know that Papua New Guinea's government is committed to the infrastructure development of the country, growing the economy of the country, making sure that all our government's programs that have been articulated in the 2014 budget, they have been rolled out. It gives us an opportunity to update them on what is happening in the country, which will of course encourage investors to come and invest in the country. Many of them do not know much about Papua New Guinea as an investment destination, and I think it's important that as a country and as a community we need to allow our investors to appreciate what we can offer as an investment community for an investor to invest in. Papua New Guinea has seen a growth of our economy averaging about 8% per annum over the last 14-15 years. That is expected to continue into the medium term, and I think it is important that we translate that growth to the delivery of services to our people so that we can improve their standard of living. Our government's programs in education, health, our investment in infrastructure like roads, bridges, and of course our investment in law and order are aimed at ensuring that we increase and improve the quality of life for our citizens. And over the last 2 or 3 years, these programs have now starting to produce results. And those results, I think, are showing an improvement in the quality of services that government is delivering. More people are starting to have access to health care. More kids are in school. In fact, close to 2 million kids are now in school because of our free education policy. We are investing billions of kina in infrastructure, in key infrastructure like the ports, the airports, the roads in Port Moresby City, Lay City, and many of the other cities like Mount Hagen and Kokopo and the Highlands Highway. We are linking up some of the remote areas where they were unlinked before, like from Kimbe all the way down to Kokopo. Now you can drive through the new road that we are building. So all in all, I think as a country, our development priorities are going well, our development programs are going well, and this is where summits like this we can articulate them to our potential investors.
I think in the recent business summit, you mentioned your frustration and drastically reducing government influence in state-owned agencies. Can you expand on that?
Well, we are talking about basically government-owned businesses. When you have blackouts continuously, when you have telephone lines not working, when you have airlines not functioning properly and delays taking place, that's because of lack of efficiency and incompetent management and lack of capital, lack of equipment, all related. So government does not have enough money to continue to fund these kind of businesses that are failing us already. So we need to get into a privatization policy where under the public-private partnership policy that government has now put through Parliament, that we encourage private sector to participate, because one, they can bring in money to invest in these businesses. Two, they bring better management skills. Because of that, they can be able to deliver services better. And that is why it's important that we go down a structured privatization where we still have some control and interest and shares in many of these companies, but we must allow the private sector to manage it for us. Because we have shown over the 40 years since independence, we have shown that we are not capable of managing these things. So why continue to waste taxpayers' money, public money, on things that are not working? We need to invest in things that are working and serving our people better. That is why we are going to slowly try it with Air Niugini, but we are appealing to Papua New Guineans that they are given the first opportunity to buy shares in Air Niugini. So we will test the market, we'll go out there and advise Papua New Guinean citizens, you, me, and everyone else, to buy shares in it. And I think we can do it. And then we can get Air Niugini to buy more planes, go to more destinations, make a better business case, keep their costs down. And these are things that will help us have better service, air transport service in the country.
I think then it's more appropriate if you can expand on the Private-Public Partnership Bill 2014.
Yes. That is trying to give confidence to the private sector that when they invest in projects with government, their interest is secured, and that we have a investment climate that is conducive for them to invest. And of course, too, is that they come in with better management skills so that they can manage those businesses better for us. So it's a new way of attracting capital and funds into the country so that we can continue to build services, provide services to our people, and of course grow the economy of our country.
Aviation is the first sector in which PPP is being introduced. Do you anticipate any other sectors?
Recently, of course, Minister for State-Owned Enterprises announced that the first organization we're looking at is Air Niugini. Why we're looking at Air Niugini is because the previous government put an order to buy more planes through Boeing, 787 and some other planes that are going to boost the capacity of Air Niugini. One plane costs about $300 million US. Government cannot fund that. Government cannot get the money. Our government does not have that kind of money. So we must bring partners in. So we raise the money so we can go and buy new planes. That is why we are going with Air Niugini first. The second one that government has already agreed to is PNG Power. The demand for power is there. Out of the 7.5 million people, 6 million people are living in communities where they've got no access to power. It's our responsibility to bring power to them at a cheap rate, affordable rate, so that they can improve their own living standards and also do business. It's good for manufacturing, it's good for business. Energy cost must come down. So PNG Power is also been authorized by Cabinet to start working on the documentation so we can invite partnerships into down to up to 50% of PNG Power. We will work closely with the unions, we will work closely with the management and the board of PNG Power. They will take charge of the process, and then we will invite international bidding. It must be public bidding process. It's not going to be done by consultants or anyone. It's going to be public so that every Papua New Guinean knows what we're doing. And it's important that we are transparent about this.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for joining us here on Business PNG.
Once again, thank you, and let me wish you and all our listeners throughout the country a very happy independence coming up. I hope you celebrate in peace and harmony, and of course with all your loved ones. And we look forward to celebrating the big one coming up, the 40th anniversary in 2015 together.
And that's the end of our show. For more information, be sure to visit MTV online. That's mtv.com.pg/business. Or to join the conversation, follow us on Twitter at Business PNG using the hashtag Business PNG. Until next week, happy 39th Independence Day. I'm Leanne Jarari, and this is Business PNG.